You think moving to a quiet cul-de-sac in Harmony Grove is finally catching a break after a nasty divorce and years of whispered lies about you being the difficult ex? Think again. The first morning I hung a simple hummingbird feeder on my porch. The HOA president marched up my driveway like she owned the deed to my soul. Her yappy little Pomeranian under one arm and pure self-righteous fury on her face. The sun was warm on my back. The kind of California suburban morning that smells like fresh-cut grass and overpriced iced coffee. I'd inherited this place from my aunt 2 weeks earlier, nice two-story with a big backyard that backed onto the community greenbelt. After everything I'd been through. The rumors my ex spread online calling me controlling and unstable. I just wanted quiet. No drama. Just birds. Coffee. And breathing room. I was still screwing the feeder hook into the eave when I heard the click-clack of determined heels on pavement. Then the yapping started. High-pitched. Non-stop. Like a smoke alarm with anxiety. You there? The voice cut through the morning like a nail on glass. What exactly do you think you're doing? I turned. There she was, Mrs. Vivian Croft. Harmony Grove HOA president. Late 50s. Wearing a hot pink velour tracksuit that probably cost more than my truck payment. Her face was already flushing. Lips pursed so tight they looked shrink-wrapped. Bubbles the Pomeranian was snarling under her arm like he'd been personally offended by my existence. I gave her my best polite smile. Morning. Just putting up a feeder for the hummingbirds. Figured it'd be nice to watch them. Her eyes narrowed to slits. Do you have any idea how many violations that is? Section 4.2 of the CC and RS clearly prohibits anything that attracts uncontrolled wildlife or disrupts the approved aesthetic. That thing is a sugary eyesore. Remove it. Now. I blinked. It's a hummingbird feeder. Ma'am. Not a strip club. She puffed up like a blowfish. Don't get cute with me. I've seen your type. New owner. Thinks the rules don't apply. I've already had 3 neighbors complain about suspicious activity at this address. And given your history, I'm not taking any chances. My stomach tightened. She'd clearly done her homework on the online rumors my ex had planted. Great. Day 1 and I was already the neighborhood pariah. Before I could answer, she pulled out her phone and started filming me. This is Mrs. Vivian Croft, president of the Harmony Grove HOA. I am issuing a formal verbal warning and documenting this violation. You have 24 hours to remove that feeder or I will be forced to escalate. She spun on her heel. Bubbles still yapping triumphantly. And marched off like she'd just won the Cold War. I stood there holding the feeder. Sugar water sloshing. Feeling that old familiar knot in my chest, the one that comes from being painted as the bad guy before you even open your mouth. But this time something was different. I wasn't the same guy who used to shrink and apologize. I'd spent the last year learning to watch. Wait. And strike when the moment was right. That was the beginning. The next morning the cops showed up. 2 black and whites rolled slowly down the cul-de-sac. Lights flashing for maximum humiliation. Neighbors were already peeking through blinds. Mrs. Croft stood at the end of my driveway in the same pink tracksuit. Arms crossed. Looking smug as hell. Bubbles was barking from her arms like he was directing traffic. Officer Ramirez stepped out first. He looked tired. Mr. Brooks? We received a complaint about an unauthorized structure and possible wildlife attraction violation. Mind if we take a look? I kept my voice calm. Sure. Officer. It's a hummingbird feeder. Still hasn't even been filled yet. Mrs. Croft jumped in immediately. Voice dripping with concern. Theater. Officer. This man is new to the community and already disregarding our carefully established standards. We have to protect property values. You understand. Ramirez nodded politely but asked for my ID and proof of ownership anyway. I handed over the thick folder my aunt's lawyer had given me. As he flipped through the pages, Mrs. Croft kept talking, listing every petty rule I'd supposedly broken. Then Ramirez stopped on one page. His eyebrows went up. He looked at the deed. Then at my house. Then at the entire street behind him. Mr. Brooks, this says your property includes the original parcel that the entire greenbelt and several rear yards back onto. Including, he glanced at Mrs. Croft's house 2 doors down. Significant portions of what appears to be neighboring improvements. Mrs. Croft's face went from smug pink to sheet white in half a second. That's impossible, she snapped. I've lived here 23 years. My deck. My rose garden. My pool equipment pad, those are on my lot. Ramirez handed the papers back to me with new respect in his eyes. Ma'am, I suggest you verify your survey before filing any more complaints. Sounds like there might be some boundary questions. She stood there sputtering as the cops left. For the first time, I saw it, the tiny crack in the armor. The fear that maybe, just maybe, the Queen wasn't actually in charge. She recovered fast. Though, within days the notices started. Little yellow violation slips taped to my door at night. Unauthorized wildlife attraction. Non-compliant porch decor. Excessive silence, failure to contribute to approved community ambience. I kid you not. One even cited suspicious lack of lawn gnomes. I started installing trail cameras. Quietly. Professionally. The kind that send motion alerts to my phone. Sure enough. 2:17 a.m. One night the alert buzzed. There was Mrs. Croft in black yoga pants and a headlamp. Bubbles trailing behind on a leash. Carefully pressing another violation notice onto my garage door with gloved hands like she was planting evidence at a crime scene. I saved the footage. Smiled for the first time in weeks. I sent her a polite but ironclad cease and desist through my lawyer. Including stills from the video. Her response was to call an emergency HOA meeting and tell everyone I was aggressive and unstable, conveniently mentioning the old online rumors about my divorce. A few neighbors started avoiding eye contact. Others whispered when I walked by. But I kept quiet. Kept watching. Kept gathering. Then came the afternoon I spent at the county recorder's office. Old surveys. Yellowed maps. Handwritten notes from 1998 when the subdivision was carved out of my aunt's larger family parcel. Turns out the original surveyor had been sloppy. Mrs. Croft's prized rose garden. Her custom redwood deck. Her outdoor kitchen. And about 12 feet of her swimming pool were all sitting squarely on my property. The irony tasted better than any coffee I'd had since moving here. I didn't rush. I waited for the perfect moment. One Saturday morning I walked over with a roll of bright orange surveyor's tape and, very calmly, very publicly, ran it straight through the middle of her rose garden, across her deck, and right up to the edge of her pool. I planted a small, tasteful sign, property boundary, Harmony Grove original parcel. Unauthorized entry beyond this line constitutes trespass. Less than 40 minutes later she came storming out in full meltdown mode. Hair still in curlers. Face the color of a ripe tomato. What the hell is this vandalism, she shrieked. Pointing at the tape like it had personally insulted her ancestors. Bubbles was losing his mind. I sipped my coffee from my porch and answered loud enough for the neighbors who were now openly watching. That, Mrs. Croft, Is the actual property line according to county records? Looks like your improvements have been enjoying my land for quite a while. I'm happy to discuss a resolution, like fair market rent for the last 20 years. Maybe? Her mouth opened and closed like a fish. For once. The professional rule-quoting machine had nothing. The neighborhood group chat exploded. Some people were laughing. Others were suddenly very interested in getting their own surveys done. She tried everything after that. Anonymous complaints to code enforcement. A drone buzzing over my yard. Even a petition to protect community standards that accused me of hostile architecture because I dared mark my own boundary. But the cameras kept rolling. The evidence kept stacking. The final showdown happened at the county zoning hearing she herself demanded. Thinking she could humiliate me in public, she showed up in a power suit, armed with poster boards covered in angry red marker and clip art eagles. She gave a 20-minute speech about the soul of Harmony Grove and how I was destroying everything we built. She waved her homemade official HOA charter like it was the Constitution. The hearing officer, a no-nonsense woman named Ms. Delgado, let her finish. Then she asked one simple question: do you have any professionally stamped surveys proving your claimed boundaries? Mrs. Croft? The room went dead silent as Mrs. Croft fumbled through her papers and finally produced a printed PDF with Comic Sans and a blurry seal she'd clearly made herself. Ms. Delgado stared at it for 3 full seconds. Ma'am, this is not a legal document. This is a Pinterest project. The snort from the back row was audible. Someone actually clapped. Mrs. Croft's face went from red to purple. Her voice cracked as she tried to double down, accusing everyone of conspiracy. But the damage was done. The mask was gone. Everyone saw the petty tyrant who'd spent years terrorizing the neighborhood with made-up rules and selective enforcement. She was fined for repeated false complaints and trespassing. The no-contact order came next. Then the civil demand for removal of her encroachments, at her expense. A month later she showed up at my door at dawn, looking 10 years older. No tracksuit. No clipboard. Just exhaustion. I'll sell, she said quietly. The whole house. Quick and quiet. Name your price. I didn't gloat. I just nodded. I bought it through an LLC. Gutted the pretentious outdoor kitchen and the ridiculous president's patio. Turned the place into Canyon Haven. Wait. No. Grove Haven, a free short-term retreat for people who needed peace. Veterans. Single parents escaping bad situations. Folks recovering from burnout. No HOA. No rules except don't be a jerk. The first guests were a young mom and her daughter escaping an abusive home. They cried when they saw the hummingbird feeder I'd moved to their new porch. Mrs. Croft moved out in the middle of the night. No dramatic farewell. Just a moving truck and silence. The neighborhood changed after that. People started talking to each other again. Lawns got a little less perfect. Kids played in the street. Someone even put up a second hummingbird feeder in solidarity. And every evening, when the light hits just right, I sit on my porch, watch the birds, and smile. Because sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't destruction. It's turning the bully's throne into a place where kindness gets to live rent-free. So tell me, was I wrong for fighting back with facts, cameras, and patience? Or was the real villain the woman who spent years hiding behind community standards while she made everyone else miserable? Who was truly in the wrong here?